keywords and ideas. An example, here is an essay title for popular drama text Educating Rita, 1980 by Willie Russell, followed by an introductory paragraph that addresses its keywords and ideas. How does Will Russell present the characters Frank and Rita in the opening scene of Educating Rita? In the opening scene of Educating Rita, a tired academic Frank meets his new, lively, open university student Rita. The two characters are culturally from different worlds, as each continually mistakes the cultural references of one another. Frank is represented as a cautious middle-class lecturer who drinks too much and is no longer interested in teaching. Rita is presented as a lively young woman lacking in academic confidence but eager to obtain it. She shows her mental agility by testing Frank and saying exactly what she thinks. Frank likes Rita for her life-affirming nature, and he decides against changing this through teaching her. However, Rita shows her determination to learn and will accept no other tutor than Frank. If you're going to write this essay, you would need to begin from the second sentence by working through each of the above points of the presentation of these characters with evidence to back up your points and comments on your evidence. Try to integrate comments on the historical context where appropriate in the comments of your evidence. The historical context excludes the attitudes, ideas, culture, entertainment, and events of a particular period which is the text is written or set.
Okay, well done, Eliora. That was quite a long text that you just read. Thank you so much for that. So in terms of writing an introduction, what happens is, from my experience, when I see students writing introductions, their introduction is only about a line or 2 lines long. And they just introduce, in fact, they just go into the story sometimes. They don't even use an introduction. So one of the best ways of introducing an essay is to just quickly sum up briefly what happens in a scene or a chapter in the story or the essay, and then explain your line of argument while referring to the essay's keywords. All right, so this particular example that Eliora just read out was a good example. It was based on a popular drama text, Educating Rita in 1980, which was by Willie Russell. And it was followed by an introductory paragraph that addresses its keywords and ideas. So you just go straight into it, but in a sense whereby you're only introducing the concept. So how does Will Russell present the characters Frank and Rita in the opening scene of Educating Rita? Well, in the opening scene of Educating Rita, a tired academic Frank meets his new, lively, Open University student Rita. Open University is a university based in Milton Keynes, which is probably about 20 miles from here up north. And in Open University, students actually study from home a lot of the times, and they study like we're doing now, so it's pretty much online. There are some classes that take place face-to-face as well, but it's mostly for slightly older adults, mature students. The two characters are culturally from different backgrounds, different worlds, as each continually mistakes the cultural references of the other. And that could happen when you're trying to communicate with somebody from a different part of the world, and your jokes may not seem humorous to the other person. And that's pretty common. So Frank is presented as a cautious middle-class lecturer who drinks too much and is no longer interested in teaching. Can you see the opening introduction? You're kind of introducing the personality and the character Frank. That goes in the introduction. Rita is presented as a lively young woman lacking in academic confidence, but eager to obtain it. She shows her mental agility by testing Frank, saying exactly what she thinks. Again, we've got a quick grasp of what Rita is like, what her personality is like. And again, this is in the introduction. Frank likes Rita for her life-affirming nature, and he decides against changing this through teaching it. However, Rita shows her determination to learn and will accept no other tutor than Frank. So if you're going to write this essay, you would need to begin from the second sentence by working through each of the above points on the presentation of these characters. So you're describing and opening up the profile, the physical attributes possibly, and the personality attributes of these characters with evidence to back up your points and comments. Okay, so remember this. What is the introduction about? If it's based on some sort of fictional essay that you're writing, please introduce the characters and their personalities. That will go really well in an introduction. But it could be in the form of just a general introduction, or it could be in the form of a passage or a running story, but you're showing that running story and that running passage within an introduction. And you can integrate some historical context of what's happened in the past, just to kind of set the scene as well. Okay, so if you're still not sure what to write in an introduction, and it's the introduction that's the hardest bit, because sometimes it's very difficult to get started writing an essay because you're not sure where to start. So this should kind of give you an idea of how to start an introduction phase. Let's go to the main part of the body of the essay itself, and let's see what this is all about. Let's go to Osaid for this one, please. Hello, Osaid.
Hello.
Hi, how are you?
Fine.
Good. Did you understand that bit when I was going through the introduction of an essay?
Yeah.
Okay, lovely. So let's read through the main body of your essay, please.
The main body of your essay. Work through each main argument for your introduction as fully as you can. Once you think that you have proved an argument sufficiently, move on to your next argument. Do not hammer away at the same point for too long. Remember that your technique must be point, evidence, and comment. Use a wide range of connective words to link your point and arguments together. These words will join up your points and arguments and link your essay together. The skillful use of connectives can help the fluency of arguments in essays and make them easier to read.
Yeah, so the main part of your essay, which is the main body, in other words, the main chunk in the middle, which is the longest chunk of your essay, go through each argument from your introduction as fully as you can. If this is a non-fiction exercise and you're writing a debate, let's say, for example, why you should wear a school uniform to school, then this is the time that you actually go through each argument. And each argument is going to be in each paragraph. So once you think that you've proved an argument sufficiently, move on to your next argument and then move on to the next one. But don't hammer away, don't keep on repeating yourself, because repetition does not get you any extra marks. All right, so we're looking for new points, new explanations, new reasoning behind each paragraph, each argument. Remember that your point must be, technique must be point, evidence, and comment. Now, it can be, it doesn't have to be. So each school will tell you a different technique to use in your main body essay. A lot of them will use point, evidence, and comment. But some of them will use point, evidence, explanation, PE paragraphs, and some others will use some of the longer ones as well. So that all depends on what your teachers recommend to you in school. But remember, this is part of the examination possibly, or coursework that's going to be marked. And it's important that you follow the exact rules of how to write an essay. And this is how you write an essay in terms of the main body. Use a wide range of language techniques. Remember, we were looking at language techniques a couple of weeks ago, and we listed them all and we went through them in detail. So use connected words to link your points and arguments together. These words will join up your points and arguments and link your essay together. The skillful use of connectives can help the fluency of arguments in essays and make them easier to read as well. Let's go into the last bit, which is the conclusion. So thanks for that, Osaid. Let's go to Lubaba for this one. Hi, Lubaba. How are you doing?
I'm good.
Good. Lubaba, are you starting on Monday?
I'm starting tomorrow.
You're starting tomorrow? Okay, fantastic. Good. Go ahead. Conclusion.
One sec. I can't see the... My camera's covering the screen for some reason.
Has that happened before?
No, I don't know. I can see kind of like, I can't really see it.
Okay, I'll come back to you in a minute, okay? Just sort that out in the meantime.
Okay.
All right, let's go to somebody else. Let's go to Dan.
Hello,
Hi, Dan. How are you?
I'm fine.
Very good. Have a read of the conclusion, Dan.
Okay. Your essay needs to embody a sense of finality. This should be reflected in the tone of your conclusion. Conclude by summing up your arguments and findings. It may be that you have found an alternative way of understanding the question. Maybe you will have discovered something that needs more research. It is important to explain what you learned from writing your essay. Give your views on the text that you're writing about.
Good. So, conclusion, Dan, where does it usually come in an essay? Is it at the beginning? Is it around about the middle? Or is it around about the end?
It's around the end.
Yeah, good. So, your essay needs to embody a sense of finality. So, this should be reflected in the tone of your conclusion. Conclude by summing up your arguments and findings. So, all the arguments that you've actually written down in the essay, you've just got to summarize it. What does summarizing mean, Dan?
Pardon?
What does summarizing mean?
It means like shortening it.
Yeah, so the key points. Summarizing means writing in brief. Brief means shorter than what you've written before, but the main points. It may be that you have found an alternative way of understanding the question, so maybe you will have discovered something that needs more research. It's important to explain what you learned from writing your essay, give your view on the text that you're writing about. So if Dan, let me ask you a question. Do you think, are you for or against wearing school uniform?
Against.
Why are you against wearing school uniform?
I don't like it.
You don't like it?
No.
Okay. So let's say, for example, you don't like wearing school uniform, and give me a reason behind it.
I don't like it.
Yeah, give me a proper reason. Why don't you like it? What's the reason you don't like it?
I'd rather wear my normal clothes.
And why is that?
It's more comfortable.
Okay, fine. So school uniform you find uncomfortable, whereas if you were to wear your casual clothes, you'll find it more comfortable, right? So that's one of your arguments. But when you start an essay, you're not going to start with those words that I do not like wearing school uniform because I find it very uncomfortable. The reason for that is because you're giving away your entire essence and argument of writing an essay. Because you need to keep the examiner or your teacher or the reader under suspense. So when you've written all your arguments in the main body of your essay, and you've actually shown both sides of the argument, pros and the cons, a conclusion is where you summarize those arguments in brief, and then you write in your own words, in your own opinion, whether you are for or against the uniform and why that is the case. Even though you've given certain arguments for both sides of the argument, for wearing and not wearing a school uniform. So a conclusion is summarizing and writing the arguments in brief, at the same time give your own personal opinion at the end of the conclusion, to then for the examiner to determine what you really think. All right, so that just shows that you're human. You have a humanistic side to you, which means that you've taken a certain stand in the argument. You've taken a certain point in the argument which applies directly to you. There's no wrong or right answer. It doesn't matter whether you like wearing a uniform or whether you don't. That's not the issue here. The issue is that could you humanistically actually show your own opinion about wearing school uniform after you have presented all the arguments? Okay, so that's another side of writing a conclusion as well. Thank you for that, Dan. And let's go to Aman for the last bit. Aman, if you could just kindly read slowly and carefully so everybody can understand as you go through. Just unmute yourself, Aman, please. Aman, can you unmute yourself, please? I can see you on the screen. Just unmute yourself.
Hello.
Thanks, Aman. Okay, so we're now in the last bit now.
Is it 2 tips for writing better essays?
Yeah, could you kindly read slowly and carefully, please, as well? Thank you.
Read outstanding exemplars. Ask your teacher whether he or she has exemplar essays for you to read. When you read the essays, look especially for the following. How the essay's main argument
Nice and slowly, Aman. Nice and slowly so I can understand what you're saying, please. Thank you.
How the essay's main argument is treated in the opening paragraph and developed throughout the rest of the essay. How the writer keeps the introduction brief by getting into the answer relatively quickly. How the writer maintains relevance by referring to keywords and phrases from the essay, titled right from the beginning. How quotations evidence are introduced and commented on where appropriate. How effectively the essay is concluded.
Okay, so just stay here for a second, Aman. 2 tips for writing essays. So ask your teacher whether he or she has exemplar essays. So in other words, example essays for you to read. When you read the essays, look especially for the following. How the essay's main argument is treated in the opening paragraph and how it's developed throughout the essay. How the writer keeps the introduction brief by getting into the answer relatively quickly, and how the writer maintains relevance by referring to keywords and phrases from the essay. Using quotations as well, that's also very important. And how effectively the essay is concluded with the conclusion at the bottom. So finish it off.
Mark other students' essays. Ask your teacher to photocopy your exam board's marking scheme so you can apply the exam board's criteria to your friends' essays.
Well done. Okay, so sometimes it's not easy writing essays, and it's one of the key criteria is that you ask your teacher what examination board you're doing, get a marking scheme for this, Aman. And when you get a marking scheme, the marking scheme will show you what structure to follow in terms of following and writing a good, healthy essay. All right. So let's answer some of these questions then, and let's just go through some theory, and we'll expand on these slightly more. So what should you focus on in essay questions? So Aman, as you're here, let's just start you off with this.
Hello?
Hi there, Aman.
Can you repeat the question again?
Yeah, can you read it? Yes, can you read it for me?
What should you focus on in essay questions? Choose the correct option. Would it be A?
So you understand the question, the whole question, and pay attention to keywords and phrases, yeah?
Mm-hmm.
Good, well done. And do another one for me.
I can't see. What does text mean? Choose the correct option. Any would be any book, play, or poem in any genre.
Yeah, so a text will mean any book, any play, or any poem in any genre. That's what the meaning of actual text is. Thanks, Aman. Okay. I'll come back to you afterwards, and just hang around at the end of lesson. I just want to have a quick chat with you. Next question. What does a text historical context mean? What does a text historical context mean? For this, let's go to Lababa and see if she's still here. So Lababa, just unmute yourself, please. Is it working now?
Yeah.
Okay. So what does the text's historical context mean about?
D. It says
Yeah.
on the paragraph, it says try also to integrate comments on the historical context where appropriate and comments on your evidence.
Yeah, so you go for D. So the period in which the text was written and what was going on at the time. Well done. And do this one as well, please, Lababa. Read the question.
How many main arguments should you aim for? I said 3 or 4.
Good. I mean, 3 or 4 is primarily the main arguments, but you can actually write more than that as well. So that's something that's flexible and open to you, depending on which exam board you're doing, whether it's AQA, whether it's EdXL, whether it's Cambridge for that matter, or whether it's OCR. So each exam board has their own criteria, and your teacher in school will probably tell you best what criteria you're going to use. And I would follow that criteria as well. Thanks, Lubaba. Let's go to Amir.
Hello.
Hi, Amir. How are you?
Good, thank you.
Okay, so have a go at this, Amir, please.
Oh, where do you give your personal opinion in an essay? Choose the correct option.
Remember what I was talking about before in terms of your personal opinion about uniforms? Where did I say that you should place this?
Was it at the start or the end?
So you're giving arguments, but your personal opinion has to be in the conclusion. Because
Okay.
you don't want to give it away, Amir, at the beginning in the introduction phase. Because if you give away your personal opinion, then the reader is going to know your inner thoughts. Then the arguments that you're going to present after your personal opinion are not going to make sense, because then the reader is going to think, hold on, Amir likes wearing school uniform, but then why is he giving me all these arguments against wearing school uniform as well? Do you see what I mean? So you've got to give your personal opinion, thoughts, keep it a suspense from the reader or the examiner until right to the end, because you want the reader to read your entire work from start to finish. If they start reading the first 2 paragraphs and you've given it away, then there's not really any point in reading the rest, especially in an exam. Because in an exam, believe me, from personal experience, the examiners will read your work so quickly, because they have literally thousands of texts and exam papers to read. They will go through them so quickly. If you don't catch their interest, they may not even read it properly, and they have to read it properly. I'm not saying they don't, they do, but you want to make sure they read it thoroughly from start to finish, and then they check your personal opinion at the end. So which one are we going to go for?
A.
At the end and nowhere else. Well done. And the next one as well, Amir. Just read the question, please.
Oh, I can't see it still. Oh, okay. A well-planned essay, complete the sentence by choosing the correct option. Is it D?
Yeah, so a well-planned essay addresses the keywords and phrases in the question, and it then answers them. Thank you so much, Amir. Let's go to Fatima for the next one. Hello, Fatima. Fatima, if you just unmute your audio, please, for me. I can see your screen, but you just need to unmute. Okay, I'll come back to you in a minute. Let's go to Rachel. Hi, Rach.
Hi,
How are you?
good.
And when are you starting school?
Oh, on Friday.
On Friday. Okay, good. Are you looking forward to it?
Yeah,
Oh, really? Are you sure?
yeah.
Okay, good. Just read the question, please, Rach.
Literary essays should contain complete the sentence by choosing the correct option.
Yeah, so we're looking at literary essays, and they usually include lots of kind of references type of things.
Is it quotations and close references to the text?
Yeah, good. So literary essays contain lots of quotations and close references to the text. So you can refer back to the text itself to make your key arguments, or you can even refer to any other evidence that you probably read before, which the examiner hasn't seen. But you need to clarify that in detail afterwards as well.
Mm-hmm.
And have a go at this one, please, Rach.
The conclusion of an essay should complete the sentence by choosing the correct option. Sum up your argument. Wait.
Yeah, go ahead.
Is it give the essay a sense of finality?
That's true. That is a certain point. But overall, in the conclusion, what do you have to write? Do you write the whole points all over again, or do you have to do something
No,
else?
sum up the arguments and say what's been learned.
That's right. That's right. So you sum up your arguments and say what has been learned. So in other words, in terms of a summary or in brief, along with your own personal opinion and personal points as well. Okay.
Okay.
Thank you very much, Rachel. And let's go to the next question. Let's go to Zoha for this one. Hi, Zoha.
Hi,
Hi, how are you?
I'm good.
And have you started already?
And I'll start next week, Monday.
Okay, very good. Go ahead, Zoha.
Effective use of quotation means complete the sentence by choosing the correct option. Quoting the exact word or phrase that has led to a conclusion.
So effective use of quotations means quoting the exact word or phrase that has led to a conclusion. Zoha, I would, it's very close. I would go for B. Providing enough of a context to let the reader judge the quotation itself. That's what I would go for. That's what it says actually in the text itself. So when you use quotations and refer to the quotations, because you're letting the reader understand the context or why you're referring to a quotation, and then the reader can make a judgment based on that particular quotation as well. Okay. And have a read of this one as well.
A reference to a text is most appropriate. Complete the sentence by choosing the correct option.
So we're looking at a reference to a text is also quite important as well. And that is because when you're actually, when the actual language used by the author is not important, that's when you'll actually make a reference to a text. That's when it's the most appropriate time. Okay. So we'll go for option B in this case. Okay, Zoha, thank you so much. Let's go to the next one, and let's go to Ibrahim for this one.
Hi.
Hi, Ibrahim. You okay? How are you?
Yeah, good, thanks.
Good.
So, where do you think this passage comes from in the essay? Read the passage shown below and choose the correct option.
Yeah, so where do you think this passage comes from in the essay? Just have a read of this, please, Ibrahim.
Right. The main message then in To Kill a Mockingbird is not to judge by appearances. Scout and Jem learn that the monsters of their childhood, Boo and Mrs. Dubose, have stories of their own, and the town has learned a little that you should not judge a man by his colour. The key to all of this is sympathy for outsiders and loners. As Atticus says, you should never judge someone unless you have walked around in his shoes. This message works most of the time, but we shouldn't forget that Tom Robinson got into trouble for being too sympathetic. The final part of the book, when Scout sees her own childish world from Boo's point of view, also tells us that we should try to see ourselves from other people's points of view.
Good. So just generally speaking, looking at this passage, where do you think it would come roughly in the essay?
Near the end.
And why would you say that it would come near the end? What evidence do you have for that?
Because just reading it, you could tell that it's a big old summary, really.
Mm-hmm.
It's main general points. It's no detail in there. Not much detail, sorry.
That's right. So it's written in brief, it's making quick certain points, and you can tell that it's towards the end of the actual essay. So thank you for that, Ibrahim. Let's go to Aman again.
Hello.
Hello, Aman. So identify a quotation in the passage shown below.
As to not.
Take your time, there's no rush.
Judge. I'd say maybe walked around in his shoes.
Can you see that?
Yeah, see, it's what is it? It's as Atticus says, you should never judge someone unless you have walked around in his shoes.
That's good, Aman. Well done. So we'll go for this one and see. Good lad, well done. And while you're here, do this one as well, Aman.
Identify a close reference to the text shown below. Do you think it has been used effectively? It would be C again. No, wait. It's not that. It's no, it would be B.
So identify a close reference to the text shown below. What's the reference?
Would it be B?
No, try again. Try again one more time. Look at the third last sentence.
Oh yeah, it'd be D, because it's when Scout sees her own childish world from Boo's point of view.
Correct, yeah. So Scout seeing the world from Boo's point of view. Yes, it leads on to the final comment. So the final comment is towards the end of the text that we can see here as well. Okay, good.
Right.
Anybody read this book, To Kill a Mockingbird, at all? Anybody read this at all? It's a very popular book in schools, or used to be anyway, in my time. So thanks, Aman. Okay, last couple of questions left. So let's get through these as well. And let's go to Said for the next one. Hello, Said.
Hello.
Hi there. Just read the question, please.
Do you think this piece of writing works well? Read the passage shown below and choose the correct option.
Did you manage to, did you manage to read this passage before?
I did.
Okay.
I think yes, it has.
Why do you think this is the case?
Because it describes multiple themes well, and it gives a good summary of the book.
Yeah. So, like you said, describes the theme very well. Also, at the same time, even though you haven't read this book, and this is just a small passage, and it's just the ending, really. But just by looking at the ending, it sums it up very well. And you can tell that it's come from the book itself. So we'll go for the option yes. All right, I'll say last one. We do this one as well, please.
Suggest one improvement shown on the passage below and choose the correct option.
Yeah, so suggest one improvement to the passage that's shown below and choose which one do you think it could possibly be.
It could have been better organized.
Why would you say that?
I feel like it just, like, the order of the themes seem random, and then it talks about the themes for a bit, and talks about something else, and it goes back to talking to the themes for a bit. It just doesn't feel well organized or well put together.
Yeah, and you know, in terms of the option that you've gone for, option A, it also says the bracketed section looks like an afterthought. So a bracket is something that you apply in a piece of writing, which necessarily is not important. But even with the bracket there, you're just providing that extra bit of information. And you don't have to read the bracket. So if you don't read the bracket, the sentence or phrase will make sense. But even if you did read the bracket, the sentence and phrase should also make sense. So the bracket says, this message works most of the time, but we shouldn't forget that time Tom Robinson got into trouble for being too sympathetic. So that bracket really doesn't need to be there. It's making it look, it's firstly the bracket, the phrase is too long. You know, brackets are usually used for short phrases like 2, 3, 4 words. That's like too long. And it's not in the right context. So yes, I would agree with you and say it could be better organized. The bracketed section looks like an afterthought, and it probably should have been more condensed. It should have been slightly beforehand, made this point rather than afterthought. So well done. Good. So that's it for today, kids. All right, so basically English, how to write essays. Now this gives you a platform how you can actually start writing essays. All right, and I would actually like you